Good morning and welcome to this short webinar. And I'm sharing with you this morning a reflection we had during our Sunday morning prayer. And it's from the late Father Henry J.M. Nouven. It was a powerful reading, and it really did resonate with the hearts and souls of those who joined us for morning prayer from around the world. And if you excuse me for reading from the reflection, but these are the words that I would like to share with your heart. The theme, the true voice of love. Who is this true voice of love? Well, let's read on. Fear is the great enemy of intimacy. Fear makes us run away from each other or cling to each other, but does not create true intimacy. When Jesus was arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, the disciples were overcome by fear, and they all deserted him and ran away. Fear makes us move away from each other to a safe distance, or move toward each other to a safe closeness. But fear does not create the space where true intimacy can exist. To those who are tortured by inner or outer fear, and who desperately look for the house of love where they can find the intimacy their heart desires, Jesus has something to share with your heart. He says, "You have a home. I am your home. Claim me as your home today. You will find it to be the intimate place where I have found my home. It is right where you are. It is right within your being." And that inner being is your heart, the gateway to your soul. For your soul is the gateway to God. The more attentive we are to such words, the more we realize that we do not have to go far to find what we are searching for. The tragedy is that we are so possessed by fear that we do not trust our innermost self as an intimate place, but anxiously wander around hoping to find it where we are not. We try to find that intimate place in knowledge, competence, notoriety, success, friends, sensations, pleasures, and dreams, or artificially induced states of consciousness. Thus we become strangers to ourselves, people who have an address but are never at home, and hence cannot be addressed by the true love, the true voice of love. Fear, I shared this morning, for me, I discovered in my own life, where I spent many years living in fear. It created soul entrapment. It blocked my heart from hearing that still voice of my beloved who is the Christ, whom I'm vowed to. For me, fear is a cancer of the soul. It destroys that personal intimacy for those on the spiritual path. It leaves them hankering and hungry for divine intimacy. And if this fear goes unchecked, Those dark negative forces I refer to as the Antichrist will use one's fear to lead one away from the beloved. I've seen that happen even in our own community, where members have that innate fear, and a lot of it stems from childhood, where many experience sexual abuse, violence, intimidation, negative mindsets of you're no good, you're useless. Why would God bother with you in a religious order? But the same can be applied to those who are of the Buddhist, Sikh, Hindu, the Baha'i, the Muslim fraternities, even the Jewish tradition. Fear is a toxic emotion that has destroyed many lives. And I met many of them whilst traveling around the United Kingdom and abroad running retreats. And the many times beautiful souls would come up to you and share with you their fear of God. But God had a plan for me to face my greatest fear. Unfortunately, I had to experience the full impact of a mental health breakdown following the death of my dear brother friend, Brother Eddie, age 42, who died of cancer. And I struggled with the grieving process, and yet I was a senior nurse in palliative care. But I couldn't cope. So that mental breakdown and the impact of Prozac introduced me to bipolar. But thank God, meditation and periods of silence and prayer, silent prayer, have helped keep that disease controlled. But be mindful, if you are struggling with fear, and that is blocking you from experiencing divine love, from whether it's the Lord Buddha, Vishnu, Ganesh, Krishna, Bahula, Yahweh, Allah, Jehovah, you need to take responsibility for this fear. If you're of the Christian persuasion, I would guide you to do the following. I wouldn't demand it of you because you have free will, but I would suggest to you a routine that has worked for me. Name it. Name those fears. They're yours. Bless them and release them to Christ. And then give thanks to God for having answered your prayer. Let us just be still now as we come into the presence of divine oneness, a God of many names and none. And let us just sit quietly in God's presence, or in the presence of Buddha or Tara, whom I love, maybe Magdalena, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, or any of the spiritual masters, or Francis of Assisi, or little Therese of Lisieux, or the great Bernadette Soubirous. Whoever your God is, just embrace them now. And in the stillness, call on the one you love and trust. Use your gift of free will to summon divine intervention. And I call on the Archangel Michael, who was commissioned by God to protect the children of God on this earth plane from entity attack. And Archangel Michael comes to you with the sword of righteousness, And your inner voice, the voice of the beloved Christ, is asking you to visualize an umbilical cord coming from you to your fear. And he asks you to use your permission to summon Michael to assist you now to sever the umbilical cord to your fear. Number one, you are safe now. You are relaxed in your mind, body, and spirit. And you are surrounded by a myriad of angelic beings, messengers of love. And two, you know intuitively that this fear that has held you back and blocked the divine speaking to your heart now needs to be released. So as you prepare yourself, you look at the obstacles of fear and fear itself. And on the count of 3, you give Michael permission to sever it from your umbilical cord, your spiritual umbilical cord with the sword of righteousness. And 3, relax and watch Michael lift the sword of righteousness and bring it down on this umbilical cord. And now you're free of your fear. And your cord end is sealed with divine love. And that fear has been transformed into joy. And that joy is brought back to you by the Christ, who now places his hands over you and prays a special blessing. Go now, live your life to the full, and celebrate all that you are as a child of the light. And be still now. Thank you for watching, for taking part, and I pray the words I've shared with your heart have resonated, and that you leave this webinar with a sense of God's peace, or the peace from the one you love. Namaste, Shalom, Inshallah, Paxet Bonum, OmShanti, Solo di Caritas, Salam Alaikum, and may the peace, the love, and the joy of all that you serve reawaken your soul to experience that inner voice from your beloved God. Amen. Have a wonderful day. Go free.